Всем привет! Меня зовут Wally и добро пожаловать на мой канал. Today I thought maybe we could do something a little bit different, a little bit lighter for a change. When you're constantly talking about corruption and cheating and robbing, and sometimes it's not a bad idea to just chill till the next episode. And, just have a little bit of lighter fare, I guess. So I remember a few years ago, by now it's probably been 10 or 15 years ago, Wikipedia was treated like the devil, like it could not be trusted. Under any circumstances, do not trust Wikipedia. Although they actually do an excellent job of citing their sources, it is a phenomenal place to start a research process. There are an infinite amount of places that you can go from a Wikipedia article. I would say Wikipedia should never be a primary resource for research, but it is a good enough starting point, right? I think its reputation has definitely improved in recent years, and most people pretty much regard it as reputable for the most part. The problem comes when you get a Wikipedia article that does not have very many sources or any sources. While I was researching for my video about Dina Kochetkova at 94 Worlds and the possibility that she wasn't scored fairly in the all-around, I had a gander at her Wikipedia and it was highly amusing. And I thought we could go over it together because there is a lot of good comic material here. Dina Anatolievna Kochetkova, born 27 July 1977 in Moscow, Russian SFSR, is a Russian gymnast who competed at the 1996 Olympics. Stylistically, she was considered by many who, where's your source, to be the last of the Soviets, performing difficult skills with elegant, clean technique. An element she pioneered, a full twisting back handspring on beam, remains in the code of points as the Kochetkova. Career. Kochetkova was a member of the Soviet national team from the early 1990s. She won 4 medals at the 1991 Junior European Championships, placing second on the floor exercise and third in the all-around, vault, and balance beam. She continued to succeed in minor international meets. However, she would not come to prominence as a key member of the Russian team for several more years. 1994 was Kochetkova's breakthrough year, so first of all, we just totally skipped 1992, where Dina competed as a senior at Europeans. She was the 3rd Russian. As I've said multiple times, 1992 Europeans was the first time that the former Soviet republics sent teams as their individual newly formed countries, and Russia sent 3 gymnasts. They sent Yelena Grudneva, they sent Tatiana Ignatova, and they sent Dina Kochetkova. So for whoever wrote this article to just skip over that is kind of, I would say, a pretty important omission. 1994 was Kochetkova's breakthrough year. She won the Russian National Championships, the Goodwill Games All-Around, and 3 individual medals at the World Gymnastics Championships in Brisbane. Bronze in the all-around behind, I don't think a comma should go there, bronze in the all-around behind Shannon Miller and Lavinia Milosevic, gold on the floor exercise, and another bronze on the uneven bars. Many experts and fans felt she was robbed of the 1994 World All-Around title due to a lack of reputation, which I would agree with. I did a whole video on it. So far this has been, fairly unbiased, right? For the most part. Now, this is where things get interesting. Her bronze on uneven bars was also controversial, with most believing she should have at least won silver above her teammate Khorkina, who the Russian Federation was already favoring. Now, for me, this needs another source. This is where you realize that whoever wrote this article is a biased Dina stan who does not like Svetlana Khorkina, because what bias? The Russian Federation was not already favoring Khorkina. At 94 Worlds, they had 3 sessions, and a country could put 1 gymnast in each of the sessions. Russia put Yelena Grosheva in the first session. They put Svetlana Khorkina in the middle session, and they put Dina Kochetkova in the last session, meaning they thought she was their best gymnast. So this is just not true that the Federation was already favoring Khorkina. And even if they were, which they weren't, how would that affect whether or not she should have won silver on bars? I fail to see the correlation between the 2 points. And also, this is the very first time I had ever read anybody say that Khorkina did not deserve to win silver on bars at 94 Worlds, just as an aside. Her rise escalated when she ended the 2-year winning streak of Shannon Miller in all-around competition by defeating her for the all-around title at the 1994 Goodwill Games in St. Petersburg, which is not spelled correctly. Kochetkova won 3 more medals: silver all-around and team, bronze floor exercise at the European Championships, and shared in the team bronze medal at the World Team Championships in Dortmund. First of all, the timeline is wrong here because Europeans came in between the individual worlds in Brisbane and the Goodwill Games, which I think were in July. However, by the Team World Championships, she was suddenly finding herself outshone by rising teammate Svetlana Khorkina. Khorkina was placed after her in the lineup on every event in team finals due to favoritism and bias by controversial Russian head coach Leonid Arkayev. Why does it have to be favoritism and bias? Why can't it just be that Sveta was the better gymnast? And maybe I've been gaslit too because I don't remember seeing any of Dina's routines from Dortmund, and that could be because of the propaganda that had NBC only showing Svetlana Khorkina. I don't know. I will have to go back and try to find some footage of Dina in Dortmund to see if this claim has any kind of validity. Now, calling Arkayev controversial, I understand, because he was known to put gymnasts that he personally coached onto teams. I believe he got extra funding for doing that. So that is controversial, I guess you could say, but I don't think that would have anything to do with him favoring Khorkina over Kochetkova because he did not coach Khorkina. Everybody knows that was Boris Pilkin. At the 1995 World Championships, Kochetkova and the Russian team finished off the podium in the team competition, while Kochetkova qualified for the all-around and 2 event finals. Subpar performances and a low vault score kept her out of medal contention. At the 1996 World Championships, she rallied with a high balance beam score of 9.887 to win the event, and at the 1996 Europeans, she earned a bronze on floor. We literally just talked about this last week. I will link the video up here. I think it's interesting this article does not mention that she was robbed in said European floor final. Kochetkova was a member of the Russian team for the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta and was considered a viable medal contender on several events, including for the prestigious all-around event. Prior to the competition, the Russian team was considered the dark horse. I don't want to be too bitchy because I don't know if whoever wrote this, if English is their first language, but it's kind of confusing to read. The Russian team were considered the dark horse contender for a team medal behind the defending 2-time world champion Romanians, fast-rising Chinese, and home country Americans. After a strong showing in the compulsory exercise, the Russians had a narrow lead at the halfway stage and were clearly delighted as they left the arena. I'm gonna look for footage of them being clearly delighted as they left the arena. Oh, I love that phrase, clearly delighted. Only the Americans stayed within striking distance going into the crucial optionals. However, while the team stars were generally solid, errors from several of the lower-rank Russian gymnasts, combined with nerves from the high-pressure event and the noise from the mostly American crowd, dropped them to second place in the finals. And that was a very, very sad day. Kochetkova, as one of the most experienced team members, showed strong performances and seemed one of the least affected by the high-octane atmosphere, but it was not enough to rescue her team from silver. Except for when she did a Rudy that was Gina Gogian quality. Aside from that, I would say yes, she pretty much held it together during team finals. Kochetkova qualified in third place to the all-around competition. Overlooked as a dark horse contender by most of the media though, due to generally being regarded as only the third Russian in hype and Russian coaching favoritism to both Rosa Galieva and Svetlana Khorkina, she surprised many by being tied for the lead with Chinese star Mo Huilan after 3 rotations. So again, there's this narrative that she is being held down by the Russian Federation in favor now not just of Khorkina, but Galieva has suddenly come back and now she's outshining Dina as well. But again, I'm not sure where this is coming from. Dina was the top Russian finisher in the all-around at Europeans. In fact, Rosa did not even qualify to the final, and Rosa did win a gold medal in finals, and Dina only had the 1 bronze. But Dina had a really bad day during finals. She fell on both bars and beam. I don't think many people were surprised that Dina was tied for first because we knew that she still had not gone to her week event. And while I was researching for my video on Europeans, somebody was really upset about the score that Dina got on vault there. So to say that she was perpetually underlooked, underscored, not being favored, I just think that's a bit of a bias, honestly. However, she was to end on vault, by far her weakest apparatus, as we said. A decision to perform a difficult 1.5 twisting Yurchenko vault in the final rotation proved to be unwise. Kochetkova could not perform the skill as cleanly as her simpler vaults. Her low vault score dropped her to 6th place for the individual competition, the highest of the Russians, but still shy of a medal. Had she managed anything above a 9.681 average, easily attainable for her with her 9.9 valued vault, she would have won the all-around silver behind Lilia Pokopaeva of Ukraine. Well, we could play the what-if game forever. If Simona Amanar had done a double turn in her floor, she would have finished second behind Lilia Pokopaeva. If Dominique Dawes hadn't sat down her 2.5 twist punch front on floor, she could have finished behind Lilia Pokopaeva in the all-around in 2nd place. If Mo Huilan hadn't gone out of bounds on floor and just had an overall messy routine, she could have finished behind Lilia Pokopaeva for 2nd place in the all-around. It was a very, very tight competition. I do agree that obviously Dina should have done her Pipe Bahraini vault, but I don't know that it automatically would have assured her of the silver medal. And while she placed into 3 separate event finals, she had no better fortune there, finishing 4th on the balance beam and 5th on uneven parallel bars and floor exercise, all 3 of which she was considered a potential medalist on. Had she duplicated her beam performance from any of the earlier rounds, she would have managed at least the silver medal, as her previous lowest optional beam score was a 9.825. And this was a real shame because she did her eponymous skill, full twisting back handspring, immediately into back handspring layout step out, and she had a significant bobble on it, but for me, she still should have won the bronze medal over Gina Gogian, who did not perform a flight series in her routine, and it was very uninspiring. So I think it's interesting the author mentions that had she duplicated her routine, she would have won the silver medal, but they could have just said that there's controversy regarding her not winning the bronze medal, because there really was. Kochetkova was generally the quiet contender of the top gymnasts of the mid-90s. She was overshadowed. Again, she was overshadowed even amongst the top Russian gymnasts as far as media attention and hype by Svetlana Khorkina, Rosa Galieva, and even at times Yelena Grosheva and Oksana Fabrichneva, although her individual achievements at that time were comparable to Horkina and far beyond any of the others. The Olympics were her last major competition. So in the comment section on my video about Europeans, someone brought up that Dina didn't really have that it factor, or, that star power that the judges would want to reward as the face of the sport, and they thought that could be why she wasn't scored higher. And I think that would be much more the case than some kind of conspiracy to keep her down against some of the other Russian gymnasts. Everybody knows how gregarious Svetlana Horkina is. I think Galieva got a lot of attention because of her backstory and what had happened at the prior Olympics, not necessarily because of her personality. I don't really recall Yelena Grosheva getting more attention than Dina. And Oksana, she wasn't even on the competing team at the Olympics. But go off, sis. Later life. Kochikova underwent knee surgery in 1997 after her retirement. She lives in Moscow with her husband, working as a personal trainer. And then it has her competitive history, and then it shows her eponymous skill. There are 2 references listed, but only one of them is properly sourced in the article. I'm assuming the first one was just used for maybe her birth date. I'm not sure. This article to me is kind of evidence of that. That seems like the author is bringing down Svetlana Horkina in order to make Dina look better. And I don't know that that's necessary. They're bringing in lots of speculation, far more than should be in a Wikipedia article, to back their claims, and unfounded speculation never makes for a good Wikipedia article. I mean, you want to have sources. It's still easy enough to build a narrative because you can pick which sources to use, but you still have to actually have sources, which this article does not. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this change of pace. I thought it was fun. I don't know if you guys will find this article as interesting or as amusing as I did, but I hope so. Let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this. Please hit that thumbs up if you like this video, and I will see all of you guys in my next one. Do skoro. Take care. Bye, loves.